Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has an amazing combat system with lots of depth and nuance, and if like me you've reached the end of the game, you should have a solid understanding of how the combat works, and most likely find the game to be relatively easy up to a point. However, once you have beaten a certain endgame boss, you will then gain access to the brutal and legendary challenges via Chadley's simulation. These challenges are locked to hard mode and are designed to test the skill of even the most competent players. Not just in combat proficiency, but also build crafting. And so, I have decided to make guides for these challenges for you guys, starting with today's guide, the legendary bout, Aerith vs the Magi. Starting off, let's cover the build. Some of these will be more or less mandatory, and some will just be ones I highly recommend bringing along for a much easier time. When it comes to weapons, either of the last two of Aerith's weapons are a solid pick. Her Gambantian, which supports 2 pairs of linked materia slots and 2 single slots, with some nice support skills such as Reprieve, which allows you to survive an otherwise lethal attack with 1 HP once per battle. It also comes with ATB charge rate up by 10%, allowing for faster use of Aerith's spells and abilities. And it also provides magic up by 20, bringing it more in line with my other pick and in my opinion better choice, the Plumberer's Rod. This, by default, sports the highest elemental attack while also providing 2 paired materia slots and 2 single materia slots. It grants passives such as a 200 HP increase, or increased ward or familiar durations, however more importantly gives us access to the passive Ward Shift Mastery, which shortens the cooldown of her Ward Shift teleport by 2 seconds, which can be clutch in avoiding monsters' attacks. For armor, you will want either the Centron Bracelet or Armlet, both providing 4 pairs of materia slots for a total of 8. These are both endgame items located in the Temple of the Ancients during Chapter 13. If you haven't reached this part of the story, your next best option will be the Hades Armlet found in the research facility during Chapter 11 through a series of events while you're playing as Cait Sith. Next up, let's talk about the materia. The one mandatory materia required to beat this challenge is Subversion. This will grant us access to the spell Breach, which will be required in Wave 4, but I'll cover that later in the video. Moving on, we have the materia that I'd label as bordering on mandatory. Starting with the Lightning and Wind materia, you want to link this with Magnify. This will be vital for clearing Wave 1. If you don't have the Lightning and Wind materia sufficiently leveled, that's fine, you can replace it with the Lightning materia since we do not need the Wind on this materia at all. In one of your paired armor materia slots, you will want to pair your Lightning or Lightning and Wind materia with an Elemental materia. At the very least, you want this to be level 2 to prevent all lightning damage, and if you have it at level 3, even better. This will be extremely useful for some of the waves in this challenge. Moving along, we have the Fire and Ice materia. I recommend having it at level 3, however if yours is only level 2, you can make do with that. You can pair this materia with a few solid options. Magic Focus, which will provide a spell damage increase as high as 25% at max level. HP or MP Absorb materia, which grants you health or MP on any fire or ice spells you cast. And my last recommended pick, the Swift Cast materia, reducing cast times from 50% all the way up to 100% at max level, making casting almost instant regardless of the spell level. Last up in my pick of borderline mandatory materia is the First Strike materia, which will provide a large ATB boost at the start of battle to get set up right away when each wave starts, and ATB boost which can be used early to set up or in later waves when needed to output damage and heal. Now for some other materia that I used and would highly recommend. HP and MP up materia, this one's pretty self-explanatory. Healing materia, this can be replaced with chakra materia if necessary to provide free healing. However, with Aerith's magic stat, you can get almost a full heal off cure, so I wouldn't recommend. Next up, ATB stagger materia, providing a large boost to ATB upon staggering the enemy, to ensure you have ATB ready to unleash damage during stagger. Skill master materia, providing a large ATB boost upon using 3 commands, which is easy to do when casting her wards and spells. And last up is Dark Side, providing a 20% damage increase at max level. This doesn't work on spells, so it's not a top pick, however this will affect Aerith's Transcendence ability, which is one of her strongest damaging abilities. Last of all, we have the accessory slot, with a few solid options to choose from, such as the Box Crusher keychain, obtainable from the Desert Rush minigame located in Dust Bowl. This will grant some HP and MP upon staggering an enemy. We have the enhanced Psychic's Charm, craftable after getting the transmuted chip by completing the excavation intel, the Scars of War in the Junon region. This will provide an increase to magic and MP by 8%. The Genji Glove. This is a very late game item, requiring you to have maxed out your crafting level, which will allow us to break the damage cap. Useful in any of Aerith's tier 3 spells with Transcendence active, this will allow us to hit upwards of 25,000 damage per hit. Or, what I use for this guide, the Chocobo Cape, which grants a full ATB at the start of battle. When paired with the First Strike materia, this allows us to have up to 2 ATB at the start of battle. To obtain this, you will need to do the Gold Cup or Bust side quest, accessible during Chapter 12. Now that we have the build out of the way, let's move on. Wave 1 will have us facing off against 2 security officers that are weak to fire, and 2 slug rays that are weak to thunder. We want to open the fight by placing down Arcane Ward, and then immediately following that with a Magnified Thundara on the slug rays. If you didn't use the Choco King Cape, then you want to activate ATP boost before placing Arcane Ward. The reason we go for the bots first is because the security officers can be stunned with Aerith's regular attacks for some free kills and an easy wave. Wave 2 has us fighting the Yin and Yang, which you might recognise from Chapter 12. It can start in Yang mode, in which it will cast spells, or in this case Yin mode, where it will perform powerful melee combos. To combat this form, we want to place down Radiant Ward first, then run away from the ward and bait out its main attack Despondent Strike. As soon as its attack animation starts, activate Aerith's Ward Shift to teleport back to her ward, and use some regular attacks to build ATB. And repeat this until it shifts to its Yang form, which doesn't take very long, as seen right here. In this form, it can only cast Ice or Thunder type spells, and thanks to our Thunder immunity, we can tank those hits and continue attacking. Now that it's in this form, place down Arcane Ward. I find it's best to place this towards the edge of the Radiant Ward so that you can teleport between the two whenever you need to evade attacks. Now just build up ATB and stagger on the enemy until you break it and burst it down. If it switches back to Yin form, just repeat the process of running away to bait its Despondent Strike and teleporting back to the ward, and when it's in this form, just keep building up the stagger bar and then unleashing fire spells, which it is weak to. Once staggered, you just want to cast off fire spells. Level 2 or 3 will be fine on the Arcane Ward, or in this case, if you have Transcendence already at level 2 charge, you can just do Ray of Judgment followed by your Transcendence. If it happens to survive somehow, just cast off a couple of fire spells and it should kill it. Wave 3 will have us fighting against 2 White Moose. By default, they don't have any elemental weaknesses, so we open up by running to the back of the arena and placing down Arcane Ward. Next, just build up your ATB until you get 2, then cast Transcendence, and then cast Faraga, or if you don't have a level 3, just cast 2 fire spells. This should kill one of the White Moose and leave only one remaining. Now that we have one down, you just want to run around to the other side of the arena and place down your Radiant Ward. This is because when the White Moose gets too close, it will use its Crush ability, which is a big AoE hitbox for a large amount of damage, and we don't want that. So now that you have your 2 wards set up on either side of the arena, you can just ward shift between the 2 whenever you need to dodge, and build up your ATB and stagger on the enemy until you stagger it, and then you can cast off your spells. It doesn't really matter what element. And when it's staggered, you can also use your Transcendence if you have it up at level 2. For wave 4, we fight a Hecdives. Open the fight by using Breach to remove its reflect buff. Without this skill, all basic attacks would do 0 damage and it would reflect all magic back at Aerith. Place down your Radiant Ward and then wait for the enemy to teleport, then light it up with some regular attacks. This enemy staggers really quickly and has low HP, so once it's staggered, you can just light it up with either fire, ice, or thunder spells, which it is weak to, for probably the easiest wave in the gauntlet. For the final wave, we will have to fight the Grasslands regional boss, the Quetzalcoatl, which is weak to ice. It will always open the fight with Electrify, so use this time to run backwards and place Radiant Ward. It will either follow this up with Fulmin, which we can safely ignore due to our lightning immunity, and build ATB, or Prey. For this we will adopt the strategy of Wave 2 by running away from the ward and using Ward Shift at the right time to dodge its attack, like seen right here. We also want to cast Transcendence as early as possible so we can get it to level 2 in time for the stagger. Now we want to do like in Wave 3 and run to the other side of the arena to place down our Arcane Ward. With both wards active, we can alternate between the Radiant Ward to build ATB and deal high stagger, and the Arcane Ward to cast our ice spells, all the while dodging the enemy's deadly physical attacks and being completely immune to its large arsenal of thunder attacks. Now we want to cast level 2 ice spells to pressure it, and then teleport back to the Radiant Ward to build up its stagger bar. Once the enemy is staggered, like right here, teleport back to your Arcane Ward and let off a level 2 ice spell followed by your Transcendence level 2. If you have ATB boost instead, you can let off one level 2 ice spell, use ATB boost, then another ice spell followed by Transcendence. Once the stagger phase is over, you want to build up ATB again and cast Transcendence as soon as possible so you can begin charging for a level 2. And then we're just on a loop. Do what you did up until this point, teleporting between the wards to build up pressure on the enemy as well as your ATB. For the second stagger, just do the same thing, cast off some ice spells, making sure you have at least one ATB, and then finish off with Transcendence, like right here, which will kill the boss. And as simple as that, you have cleared the legendary challenge, Aerith vs the Magi, as easy as breathing. If you found the video helpful, consider leaving a like to help me out. I do plan on making a guide for all of the brutal and legendary challenges, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss those videos. And with that said, I'll see you all in a future video.